Come and dream with me.
Hello and welcome to What Do You Want to Watch, the Explosion Network, the premier media podcast. Every fortnight we get together, talk about movies, TV and online content, and help you answer the question, should DreamWorks really have stuck the Boss Baby and the Trolls in the animated logo card? Not really. Not a good idea in my opinion. I'm your host, Ashley Hobley. Joining me today, Dylan Blight.
No, they shouldn't. Next question.
Why do you think they even changed it? It's like, they've had such a perfect one for so long. Why? You know?
They're trying to... They can't build a multiverse, so they're trying to build like a big, brand. Like they want that Marvel-like logo, like they want that factor of all the DreamWorks thing. But no one watches DreamWorks movie and it's like, man, DreamWorks movie. Like a lot of people watching a lot of these movies probably don't even realize they're made by DreamWorks. You know what I mean? It doesn't have the Disney factor or the Marvel factor.
Pixar,
like, yeah, Pixar. Like just. Like no offense to DreamWorks, but
it's just what it is.
Yeah.
I did think it was very weird. It ends on Trakt, which I guess is their like big moneymaker and what they built their brand off. But
they haven't made one in 20 years.
Yeah, it's been forever since they made one. So yeah. Look forward to watching that in front of DreamWorks movies. I guess I think those should all just be very short. That's the key to a good title card and thing.
Especially when you're going to sit for like 16 of them in a row.
Yeah, just make it short and sweet, and then, or have it a cool one where you can do different variations. Like, obviously, like Warner Brothers, the logo they can do different color variations for whatever film they're going to do. Or like, I remember like the Universal logo with the, obviously, Earth. And like Scott Pilgrim, it's like 6-bit or whatever, leading into that film and that kind of stuff. Yeah, that stuff's cool, but nah. Or even the Marvel logo, though, I tailor it to whatever they need to. But this, no.
One of my favorite, like, Stinger logo things is actually the Blumhouse one.
Yeah.
Which I don't know if you know, but, like, it's a camera going into a house and it's, like, panning around all corners of the room, It's a scary girl in the corner and, like, all these other things, yeah.
Yeah.
It's not that long, but it's just, like, memorable.
Mm. All right, on today's episode of What Do You Want to Watch, we're discussing what's in our watch history. We're giving some thoughts on different news stories, giving some thumbs to trailers, and giving you our top threes. Yes, there's multiple top threes. But first, there's a bunch of stuff that we've already done content for. Glass Onion, a Knives Out mystery, released for 1 week in cinemas. Probably out of cinemas by the time you're listening to this, unless you're listening to this podcast on the day it releases, the morning releases, then in that case, there might still be time for you to go see Knives Out.
Run to the
see Glass Onion. Otherwise, you'll be waiting till December to see it on Netflix. But of course, this is the latest Benoit Blanc mystery. This time, he goes to an exotic island with a bunch of eccentric new money people who have a murder mystery party planned. But then murder happens, and Benoit Blanc has to help solve it. Dylan, what did you think of this Knives Out sequel?
Loved it. Thought it was fantastic. If you like the first one, there's no way you don't like this. Whether or not you think it's a little bit better or a little bit worse, that doesn't really matter at the end of the day. I feel like if you like the first one, you like this. It's just as written as well. It's got as interesting cast of characters. It's just put together, from start to finish with that same sort of Rian Johnson pace and craftsmanship that he's sort of become known for, and really good twists and stuff in this as this one plays out. Some wild performances, like not in a bad way, but just like some really lively performances by people, which is really, really good. Laugh out loud, funny, super entertaining. Loved it. One of the best movies of the year for sure. Yeah,
I agree. I don't know if I love it more than Knives Out or not. I probably need to do a rewatch of Knives Out, which I'll
be doing one on the 23rd of December.
Yeah, do them back to back. Is that the plan?
No. Oh no, I thought you just meant the new one. Like I'll be watching the new one.
Yeah. Okay. No, I meant Knives Out. I don't know if I've actually watched it since.
I watched it
cinema
on TV like a month ago, I think. And then I watched it prior to that. Last year? Yeah, so I've watched it a few times.
Okay. But yeah, great mystery, fun twists and turns. Each of the characters is most of the characters are super memorable, I would argue. And yeah, it's fun to see Benoit Blanc. Benoit Blanc plays more of a active role in this one. I feel like where it kind of felt like he was a passive character, or like in Knives Out, but he feels more of a lead than he was in Knives Out. You know what I mean? Hope that makes sense. But yeah, it's really great, and we can all look forward to the third one that's going to come out eventually. Apparently, Brian Johnson's already writing his note cards about it. So, yeah, more Knives Out. Excited for that. Star Wars Andor came to its conclusion this past week. A show that we've been talking about over on Holocron Entries. Of course, following Cassian Andor in the years prior to Rogue One, as he joins the rebellion. Dylan, what are your thoughts on the first season of Andor?
Absolutely fantastic. One of the best shows of the year. The best Star Wars Disney Plus show by far, and my favorite Star Wars content we've had since The Last Jedi came out. It's just very, very well written. Really, really great performances, nuanced characters, not a reliance on dumbing down stuff for the audience. It's written like just a good political, rebellious drama, just set within the Star Wars universe instead of writing for the Star Wars universe, which I think is the key sort of factor. Yeah, I absolutely love it. I can't wait to watch it again.
Yeah, I agree. It's probably one of the best TV shows of the year. It is a brilliantly told story that's like got these fantastic arcs over its 12 episodes. It never feels overstuffed or anything, which is we feel like or stretched out, which has been a common complaint with a lot of these Disney Plus series. This feels perfect in every single way. I've gone back and watched different speeches that people have gotten, just different moments from the series, over and over again. It's like it's incredible what they've been able to pull off, and excited that they've just started shooting season 2. Season 2 probably early 2024, so I mean that's a bit of a disappointment it's so far away. But yeah, just the ride that we went on these 12 episodes, and like being in this community that's like trying to spread the word about Andor this past 12 weeks, telling everybody, hey, I'm really glad that we were there on the ground floor. Like, because yeah, there's definitely an element of Star Wars, oversaturation. People have been let down. I don't
feel like it's oversaturation. I feel like it's lack of content that's grabbed people. Is the thing.
Yeah. At least with the last 2 series.
I feel like if it was all this good, I'd find it hard to get oversaturated. I'd just be like, fuck, we're living the dream.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, because people were a little bit felt burnt by Obi-Wan. Definitely felt burnt by Book of Boba Fett. But this is just gold from start to finish. And if you haven't watched Andor, go check out Andor on Disney Plus. It's fantastic. Of course, you can check out our episode by episode discussions of Andor over on Holocron Entries. Over on All New Marvelcast, we just discussed the Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Specials. This is a new Christmas special on Disney Plus, starring the cast of Guardians of the Galaxy, but mainly focused on Mantis and Drax as they go back to Earth to find Kevin Bacon to bring him back to nowhere to give as a gift to Star-Lord. And of course, shenanigans ensue as they have to deal with other humans and struggle with the concept of Christmas. I thought it was a delight. It's like one of the highlights from Marvel this year. It was a great showcase for Mantis, who was probably a character that's kind of been definitely not at the forefront of anything. And someone that we haven't really seen much of since Guardians of the Galaxy 2. She's kind of been in the background as like a occasional joker in the cast of the different Avengers and Thor movies, I guess. She's been in like 3 different movies since Guardians of the Galaxy 2. But yeah, this is the best performance she's given so far. Yeah, I really loved it. It was a lot of fun. Great soundtrack, lots of catchy songs, both original and, of course, sourced by James Gunn. And definitely has me super excited for Guardians of the Galaxy 3. But Dylan, what do you think?
We're on a roll today because love this as well. Absolutely fantastic, really great.
What a time to be alive.
Special. Right. Yeah, I know. We're living at the moment for stuff to watch. Really great. Absolutely laugh out loud moments from start to finish. Just a great 40 minutes. I highly suggest watching it if you at all enjoy life.
All right. Yes, you can listen to our spoiler cast over on All New Marvel Cast. And then over on our new Christmas podcast, A Very Explosion Network Christmas, we've just started watching The Santa Clauses TV series. So the first 3 episodes are up now on Disney+. Of course, this follows Scott Calvin's Santa Claus from the Santa Claus series of films, 20-something years after the last one. His kids are all grown up, and he's starting to, starting to get a bit old, and his magic is starting to wane, and he contemplates retirement from being Santa, which would require him to find a successor for himself. So that's what the series kind of follows. You get to explore a lot of stuff with his children, with Mrs. Claus, and it just raises a bunch of questions about the Santa Claus that we've raised about the movies. Like, what happened to all the other Mrs. Clauses? Were they sad when the other Santa Claus died on the roof before Scott pulled the suit on? Yeah. A whole bunch of questions. How do reindeer fly? Lots of questions being answered. It's a lot of fun. But Dylan, what are your thoughts on the Santa Clauses?
Yeah, someone who really has a big nostalgia factor for like growing up watching the first movie, and then the other ones like a little bit, but mostly the first one. I'm really enjoying it. I don't think it's like this, like fantastic show, but I think if you have any sort of love for that franchise, which I do, it's just enjoyable. I enjoy these characters. It's just like simple, fun Christmas. It reminds me of Christmas time because it's the Tim Allen Santa Claus character. So I'm definitely enjoying it for what it is.
Yeah, I mean it's a fun time. So check out our episode breakdowns of each episode over on A Very Explosion Network Christmas. Over there, we've also done the spoiler cast for Spirited, the latest a new Christmas movie released on Apple TV Plus, starring Ryan Reynolds, Octavia Spencer, and Will Ferrell. Will Ferrell plays the ghost of Christmas Present, who sets about haunting Ryan Reynolds' terrible PR guy, who's just a generally terrible, selfish dude. And the haunting does not go as planned, to put it briefly. Also a musical. Dylan, what do you think of Spirited?
Also a musical. We're taking a turn down because, I hated this. I really, really disliked it. I didn't have a good time at all. I fast-forwarded parts to sort of get towards the end.
Whoa! I didn't know that.
I fast-forwarded like 5 minutes at one stage because I was like, fuck, just get through. Like, I really disliked
that was a pivotal 5 minutes.
No, yeah. It's probably the... I don't know. Maybe it's hyperbole. I'd have to like actually look for everything, but I think it may be the thing I dislike the most this year.
Wow.
Yeah. So there you go.
I definitely didn't like it. I definitely liked it more than Dylan. It's Ryan Reynolds and Will Ferrell being Ryan Reynolds and Will Ferrell, but they're very good at being Ryan Reynolds and Will Ferrell, so you can't be too upset about that. I think it's the concept behind the film is very interesting of it being an actual production or stage play that they kind of put on every single year. So they have to do a bunch of research and build a bunch of props and that kind of stuff. And yeah, I found it quite interesting. I think some of the songs are quite catchy. To Dylan, I say to you, good afternoon.
Good afternoon!
And then over on A Very Explosion Network Christmas, we also discussed Christmas with the Campbells, which follows a young woman played by Brittany Snow who gets dumped by a boyfriend just before Christmas, but she goes and spends Christmas with his parents anyway, because reasons. Also, Justin Long is in the movie, and he has a weird accent, but he also has a dog. So it kind of evens itself out. Dylan, what are your thoughts on Christmas with the Campbells?
Yeah, so we're going to switch this time because I actually enjoyed this one. Not, I didn't love this, but I think it came around like it took a dip into bad, and it came back around so bad it was good for me because I was finding a lot of enjoyment out of Justin Long's terrible accent and a bunch of really just over the top sort of sex jokes in a Christmas family movie. Yeah, the easiest description is it's like got a very basic ass Hallmark Christmas movie, but it was co-written by Vince Vaughn, so it's got a lot of like just very bad, simple sex innuendo and jokes in it. But somehow it comes together because I get to hear Justin Long with his terrible accent go, "You'll come around and do this, so get out of the car, Polo." hey, Polo, Hennon's cute dog. It was fun.
Yeah, this is a nah for me. I mean, I struggled to sit through it, and sure, there's some fun innuendo. Some of it's a little bit clever, but there's no real story to the film. It's just very generic and basic, and my suspension of disbelief was broken in the first 5 minutes, and it never got me back from there. So, listen to our episode of A Very Explosion Over Christmas to find out why. It's very short, so go give that a listen. All right, let's move into some stuff that we haven't talked about somewhere else. Dylan, you've been watching the second season of White Lotus.
Yeah, it's really good. The connecting factor is Jennifer Coolidge's character from the first season is in this one as well. She's just visiting a different country and attending one of the White Lotus hotels that's in a different country as well. Otherwise, there's nothing really that connects this at all to the first one. Thematically, it's just a bunch of people staying at a hotel, and you just like very much like the first season. They've all got their own little stories, and so the first group of people you've got F. Murray Abraham, Adam DeMarco, and where the fuck is he? Michael Imperioli from The Sopranos. They come to Italy to take their grandfather, who's played by F. Murray Abraham, on to visit his, roots or whatever, Sicilian roots or whatever the hell's going on. So you've got like the father, the son, and then the son's son. So it's like these three generations of this family. The father, the middle-aged one, played by Michael Impoli, he is like sort of a sex addict and sort of having trouble with his wife because of this, and his father and his son are very much aware of this and the issues and stuff like that. Adam meets this girl played by, if I can find her, Haley Lou Richardson, who's really, really good. I haven't seen her in anything before that I could think of, but she's really, really good in this, and probably one of the standouts, at least for me so far. And they sort of form a bond. She's there as the assistant to Jennifer Coolidge's character, who is there with a husband, and then proceeds to just tell her assistant to like stay in her room and do nothing this entire time while she's in Italy, because that's what rich people apparently think is totally acceptable. And then you've got Megan Faye and where's the rest of the people? Theo James, they're a couple, and they're there on a like couple date trip with Audrey Plaza and Will Sharp. Their relationship's a bit weird. It seems like so Audrey Plaza and Will Sharp are very like a little bit of friction on between them. Is their relationship okay? We don't really know. All these sorts of things. Meanwhile, Theo James and Megan Faye's relationship is very much like so over the top happy that you think there must be something sort of going on in the background, and there may or may not be. So they're sort of all working on that. And then there's a few other characters. You've got these two characters played by, I don't know if I can find their names, like two local, I can't find them fast enough, but there's two local prostitutes that sort of bump into all the characters because they're trying to make money off the rich people at the hotel, and like that sort of thing that's going on there. And then it's like another story happening with the another main character similar to the first season is you follow the like head of the hotel. This time it's played by Sabrina Impastator. Valentina, but she's like got a whole thing where she's a very like strict manager and trying to like run this place properly and whatever else. But she also seems like she has no like love in her life. And the first time someone says something nice to her, she's like, oh, like it's just yeah. So they're really interesting characters. It's shot very, very well. It's got the exact same sort of thing that made the first season so good, which is just the writing and it's just like completely engrossing to watch, even though you don't like, there's no way to describe the story. It's just like there's little things happening consistently, but it's just so entertaining, so well written. And I mean, that's why it was Emmy nominated. And I'm sure this season will continue to be Emmy nominated because it's just as good, if not better than the first season. So, and much like the first season, it starts with a scene where these people are sitting on a beach and a couple bodies wash up on the water. And then then it does the whole like 1 week earlier. So you're like, what's going to happen? Because the first season started with someone taking a body on a boat, on a plane home. Yep. And then trying to go out, figure out what happened there. So yeah, but very, very, very good. White Lotus is great.
All right. So I watched the new film She Said. So this is a adaptation of the story about the two New York Times reporters, Jodie Cantor and Megan Toomey, who broke the story of Harvey Weinstein's series of sexual abuse and misconduct against women. And it kind of follows how they got on the story, how they slowly tried to get different people to go on the record to talk about what Harvey Weinstein was doing. It's good. There's a lot of great performances, but there is an element of formulaicness to it, and it also doesn't help that it's a story that we kind of know what Harvey Weinstein did and how much he did it, but it is still hard to watch and like powerful to see these women open up and recount the events that happened to them. But that is a large portion of the movie, like these women telling one of these reporters what happened to them. Sure, there's some celebrity-esque moments where they're talking about different big name celebrities that they could talk to. They have like someone play Rose McGowan like voice over the phone, and Gwyneth Paltrow, but then Ashley Judd's also in the movie as herself, which is interesting. But yeah, I mean, it's a enjoyable, it's a hard to watch but very well made journalist movie. But if you're expecting this to be Spotlight, it's not Spotlight. Yeah, I also appreciate Andre Braugher plays the editor-in-chief, I guess, of the New York Times, and he is he's very good at breaking tension throughout them. He's deployed in a way to break tensions throughout the movie, where he just gives no shits about anything. Like Harvey Weinstein's people are trying to shit talk around and waste their time and that kind of stuff, and he's just like, I've got a meeting to go to. I'm gonna hang up now. And he just hangs, Andre Braugher elicited many laughs in my audience, which kind of broke the general silence of everybody listening to all these traumatic events being recounted. Yeah, it's good. I think some of this criticism I've seen has been about it not being very well directed, and I guess it's not the showiest movie. It's kind of it just does what it needs to do, but it's not exactly a story that you want to have super showy dictatorial movements or camera angles and that kind of stuff. Yeah, it's definitely an acting movie, which Zoe Kazan, Carey Mulligan do very well. Yeah, I just wish they kind of explored them as characters a bit more. That was the only thing that I was kind of disappointed by, because they're quite interesting, both of them, like young mothers juggling, having kids, and tracking this horrific story and that kind of stuff. So yeah, I would have liked a little bit more of that, but yeah, I would definitely say go check it out. Dylan, you watched Call Jane, a new film come to Prime Video.
Yeah, so this one is about it's just like that one of those weird time things, because you watched the HBO documentary, didn't you?
The Janes, yeah.
Yeah, so it's the same subject matter about this group of underground women's movement that sort of when abortions were when they were illegal.
In America.
in all of America, when they weren't legal, they would have this plot where they'd put up posters or whatever else and say call Jane, you called number, and you'd be able to. They had a doctor who was performing these abortions and stuff. So the story follows a character played by Elizabeth Banks. So it's not based on anyone particular. It's just based on like the general
story.
The general story, yeah. So you've got this character played by Elizabeth Banks, who's like this sort of upper class woman. And you see that when the movie starts and her husband's like a lawyer or some shit like that, and there's people like rioting and stuff. It's a very good opening scene, but so she finds out that she's having like all these heart issues. She goes into doctors at the start. It's been caused by her, like she's pregnant at the time, and that she actually has like a 50% chance to live or less than or something like that. So they try to get a abortion for her own health. And there's this really good scene where she literally sits in a room full of 6 of her white male doctors who like are all talking around her like as if she's not in the room, talking about, like, oh, we shouldn't do it, like all this sort of stuff, and they just deny her and say like no, even though it's like for her own chance to live. So eventually she discovers the Janes and she does the abortion there. All the abortion stuff done like really well, especially that's a weird sentence to say, but it's done really well in that it's like not like sort of glossed over or made to look like it was super glamorous and stuff. Like the scene where she has her abortion's very silent and it's just played out. Like it's not graphic or anything. It's just it's just like, because she's also trying to keep quiet so it doesn't alarm anyone living next door to where they're doing it and stuff like that, so she doesn't start screaming or whatever else. But yeah, it's just like played out sort of in real time, not graphically, but it is like sort of tense to watch. I feel like the problem I have with the movie, and the thing that I put at start, is I feel like the movie is like sort of soft in its tone, in that quite often you'll hear these people talk about like, so Sigourney Weaver's the other character in it, and she's like playing this person who is the leader of the Janes or whatever. And she's constantly talking about, like the mob, we got to give money to them for this, and we've got the cops, and there's she talks so much about like the high risk of what they're doing, but the way the movie's put together is just, it seems so like carefree and about the whole subject matter, especially after the halfway point when Elizabeth Banks starts getting more involved with them. It's just all very like carefree. It just seems like this fun activity that she's doing on the side. Like I didn't sense any sort of like secrecy or terror or like any of these. There's one scene where she does like a secret knock, but that's it, sort of like glossed over. So I think that, and the fact that the movie just, the way it ends, it seems to be like, yeah, we had this like sort of carefree nature to it because it's supposed to be this celebratory movie about look how far we've come. But then of course it's like, well, we haven't really, because it's like unfortunately you've released this movie in a time when things are getting reversed around America. So it's like very weird to watch. So because of, I think, the combination of those two factors, it just made it not really a standout great watch to me. I didn't feel like it should be taking this carefree attitude towards the subject matter and like having this lighter tone and whatever else. But that's, I don't know if that's all the fault of the movie because of the current world events, but it's just how it played out for me. So yeah, I think I go like a 6 or something.
All right. Also on Prime Video, you watched The People We Hate at the Wedding.
Yeah, I quite enjoyed this one. So this is the plot of this one. Hold on, I can't remember the main girl's name.
Kristen Bell?
No. The one who's getting married. Holy shit, the medical scores for this is terrible. I got a much higher score. Cynthia Adair Robinson plays Eloise, so she's the one who's getting married. So the story for this is you've got this family where Alison Janney plays the mother. You've got Ben Platt's the son, Cynthia Addison Robinson's one of the daughters, and then Alice, played by Kristen Bell's the other daughter. So Alison Janney, you get this quickly explained to you in the first like 2 minutes of the movie, but Alison Janney had her first 2 kids with, or just one kid, whatever it was, anyway, with one husband, and then of course she has another husband. They try and do this like cross-country thing because she had him in the UK. She moves back to America. That's where Ben Platt and Kristen Bell grow up away from their other sister who comes over one time a year. Anyway, the family really falls apart. They all like don't really talk to each other. Well, no, Ben Platt and Kristen Bell talk to one another, but they don't talk to their mother and they don't talk to the other sister. And then suddenly they get the invitations to the wedding and they're like, fuck it, let's go. go get pissed and have a great time or whatever else. But I really enjoyed it. I feel like also I'm a big fan of just Christian Bale being Christian Bale, which is kind of what this movie is. So that's I was like sort of a sucker because it's just Christian Bale being drunk for half the movie, and just doing that thing that she does. She also has a relationship with, what is his name? I think it's I can't find his name. I can't remember his name now. Dustin Milligan, I think is, Dennis. Yeah. So he was also in Schitt's Creek, Ted Mullins. Does that ring a bell for you? No? Ted Mullins, Schitt's Creek? No? Come on, what are you doing?
I think I did.
So she has like a on and off again thing with him throughout the movie that I quite enjoyed as well. Ben Platt is great in this. I've never seen him do this sort of role. Like he's playing this, like he's got this beard on. He's just playing like a super sour sort of dude. Like almost hates everything. I don't know. Like I really enjoyed this sort of role for him compared to everything else that I've seen him do anyway, especially coming off that fucking movie I'm going to refuse to watch because I cannot treat him like a fucking, what is it supposed to be, 16 in Dear Evan Hansen? I'm never watching that movie. I can't. Like that. So I really enjoyed him in this. Alison Janney's really, really great. She's great in everything else. But yeah, I don't know. I quite enjoyed it. I laughed a lot. I really, really did laugh out loud a lot. But maybe I'm just a sucker for a few people in this. But yeah, the reviews I'm seeing, I haven't looked at scores since the reviews dropped. They're all over the place. Fucking Collider's got 75. Then some places like The Guardian have a 20. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, some people do.
Learn to laugh, people. Fuck.
So I've been watching the first handful of episodes of Mythic Quest Season 3, which is releasing on Apple TV+. Of course, I guess slight spoilers for the previous seasons, but obviously Season 2 ends with Poppy and Iron deciding to leave Mythic Quest to start building their own game. So that's kind of where it opens up this season. They've all kind of been separated for a year. Everybody's kind of gone in their own directions, or at least Poppy and Iron have working on their new game Hera for their new studio called Grim Pop. And people are very excited about it. It kind of goes from there. They've got this very weird office that I'm sure you've seen in the trailers, which is purely so just a weird white aesthetic with like a lot of screens and projectors and weird stuff. But then the big kicker at the end of the first episode, I'm going to spoil. I don't think it's a massive spoiler, but it's very amusing. So they go visit the guys at Mythic Quest get a reunion party thing. And they're like, oh, we should do this again. And they go down the elevator and they walk out at a different floor, and that's where their office is.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so they're in the same building.
They haven't seen each other for ages.
They haven't seen each other for a year, so.
Oh.
Yeah, good times. I'm really enjoying it so far. They found a way to bring Danny Pudi back into the mix, which is really good.
They fired him or whatever.
Yeah.
He's a janitor now, some shit in the trailer? Is that what it is?
Yeah, he got out on good on parole after his...
and somehow gets hired back as a janitor at the same company.
Yeah, for cult diversity reasons. But yeah, and then another big plot thread is that they're going to make a Mythic Quest movie. So, David is kind of in charge of trying to put that together on top of running Mythic Quest. So yeah, I'm enjoying it so far. Of course, Mythic Quest, great TV series. You should go check it out on Apple TV+. Dylan, you went and watched a couple of... You've got a weird mix of movies that you've watched. So you watched Freaky. Is this the first time that you watched Freaky?
No, I rewatched it.
Okay.
I think I've talked about it before, but I'll talk about it quickly again because I highly suggest watching it. It's a movie in which Vince Vaughn plays a serial killer, and then they do the Freaky Friday plot where gets switched out with I can't remember the actress's name, but she's about to be Lang or whatever. She's about to be
Cassie Lang. Daughter.
Yeah. I can't remember the actress's name.
Catherine Newton.
Catherine Newton, yeah. So Catherine Newton, so Vince Vaughn gets put in Catherine Newton's body, and then Catherine Newton's character's put in Vince Vaughn's body. They have 24 hours to figure out how to switch. So you get to watch Vince Vaughn pretending to be a teenage girl, which is quite funny.
Yeah, okay. Then you watched The Social Network. Great movie.
Yep. So I was sitting there one night with Cherie and was like, talking about Twitter. I was like, you know what should we watch tonight? Social Network. That's pretty much the
You're watching Twitter burn down.
Well, she hasn't. She hasn't seen it before. So I was like,
wait, she hasn't watched The Social Network?
No, she hasn't. She hadn't watched The Social
One
Network.
of the best movies of the last of this millennia.
Like you can talk about when not watching things.
Listen, just because I haven't seen The Green Mile, I mean,
throwing stones in a glass house over here. So yeah, I was like, with everything going on Twitter, let's watch a movie about like social media. Let's watch The Social Network.
Let's watch the movie about the birth of social media.
Yeah. So that was quite good. Again, still good movie. Obviously, David Fincher.
And then you watched Turbo.
Yep, that was with Cooper.
Yeah,
it was okay. It's about, for people that don't know, it's a snail. I don't know what studio it is. What studio is it? DreamWorks?
it is DreamWorks Animation.
Yeah, where's
And I
fucking
feel
Turbo
like
in there?
Turbo has been snubbed.
Yeah,
Snubbed.
man, I would fucking put Turbo in there and some of those other characters. So it's about the snail. I think it's voiced by Ryan Reynolds or some shit.
It is Ryan Reynolds, yeah.
Yep, there you go. It's about the snail who wants to be a rally car driver, but of course snails go slow, and that's the whole joke. And then one day he like sneaks off and he like gets sucked up into a V8 engine or some shit, and then they're like Fast and Furious racing.
Yeah,
and the dude
he
presses
gets
NOS.
infused with nitrous oxide.
Yeah, so then he can go super fast. And then he meets like a dude who's voiced by I can't remember his name. Anyway, he meets this dude who's running this like burrito shop or whatever taco van thing, and then he like
Michael Pena.
Yeah, that's it, Michael Pena. And then he's like realizes the potential of the snail, so they set out on a road trip to get him to let him race in the Daytona 2000 or whatever.
Yeah,
it's fun. It was fine. Like it's like there's nothing like stand out about it. Like it was perfectly fine.
It's fine. It's a fine movie, but it's also a dumb concept. A very silly concept.
It is a very silly concept. The fact that the snail is racing against cars is it's fucking.
You know, I've been watching So Help Me Todd, a new series on Paramount Plus, in which Skylar Astin, that people would probably know from Pitch Perfect movie, Pitch Perfect, plays the son of a lawyer played by Marcia Gay Harden. He is a private detective who can't work as a private detective anymore because he got his license stripped previously. Who is between jobs. His lawyer mother gets him a job at her law firm to work as like a investigator for the law firm. So it's very much a mystery of the week show where they've got a different case and he has to try and help solve what the case is about. And he always finds ways to make it more interesting than they initially think it's going to be, and finds weird and wacky ways to like kind of get justice for these people and get these, stop them from being arrested and shit. So I really enjoy it. It's got that like psych vibe that I'm really enjoying, and this is a fun family dynamic where Marcia Gay Harden her first husband died when Skylar Astin's character was like 18 or something, so she kind of bettered herself into work, and he kind of holds a grudge against her for not being there to help him grieve and get through the final years of high school and that kind of stuff. And then the first episode opens with her second husband disappearing, so there's a lot of stuff happening on top of... There's a lot of serialized elements on top of the mystery of the week kind of thing. So yeah, I'm really enjoying So Help Me Todd. It's a great title as well. It also helps that his name is Todd. It would be really bad if it wasn't.
It would be a title if it wasn't.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, let's move into the mandatory Netflix segment of the show. Dylan, you finished watching The Midnight Club.
Yeah, it was good. I didn't love it. I definitely feel like it's the weakest Mike Flanagan thing so far. But he doesn't direct. I think he directs like one or if any of the episodes. Like he just like wrote it or whatever. But I feel like the problem is, so have I talked about this? I don't know, but the concept for people who don't know is obviously it's a bunch of people who are at a what's it called? A place where you go to die. Jesus, I can't remember what they call it. But they've all got like different, degrees of diseases or whatever else. These kids, like from cancer to anything else, and they meet up at midnight and they tell stories. And when they tell the stories, they're like little mini short horror films that are happening throughout the thing. And I feel like because of that, the pacing just quickly becomes all over the place. So you'll be like wanting to know more what's happening in the actual world, and then you have to spend 20 minutes watching this other story. Now, most of the time, what's happening in these character stories does relate back to them in real life. Like they're saying something that they won't actually admit to, or they're talking about like their feelings in some sort of way. Like I totally get that, but yeah, I feel like that was just my sort of problem over a 10, 12, whatever episode series, that eventually, maybe for the first bit it wasn't bothering me, but eventually I was like, oh no, I feel like this is the pacing is just a bit weird with everything that's going on here. So yeah, it was okay out of 10.
It was okay out of 10. Okay, and then you also watched the first couple episodes of Guillermo del Toro's Cabinet of Curiosities.
Yeah, I've enjoyed the two I've watched. I think I only watched two, but
yep.
I've enjoyed the two I've watched so far. They're obviously short stories. They're like an hour, I think. But it's just if you enjoy short form anthology horror stuff, then I feel like then they're always going to be hit and miss. And so far, the two I've watched, I've enjoyed. The first one is Tim Blake Nelson having some weird shit happen as he buys out. He's one of those dudes who like try and buy out lockers where they sell them off and people have like not come and paid them or whatever else, and they sell them off, and he tries to like find rare things, and then he discovers some weird voodoo shit going on there. And then the second one is about this girl who really, really wants to be in some college, what do they call them? Like a sorority sort of thing. And these girls play a prank they do this thing where it's like, oh, you have to get into this casket and we're going to bury you and you have to stay there the whole night. And then once they bury her, they joke like, oh, we'll actually get her out. Like apparently they're supposed to get her out, but then it starts raining. So they like run off and they're like, well, come get her back in the morning. It'll be totally fine. But of course everything isn't totally fine. And it sort of goes from there. So I've enjoyed both so far. Yeah.
All right. I watched the new documentary FIFA Uncovered, which follows FIFA, the massive, football, soccer governing body, and exploring how corrupt they are, or theoretically are. Dating back from like the very early days of FIFA and kind of explaining how FIFA originated and kind of at what points did, they suddenly it start to get a little bit corrupt. And it's definitely the point in which, they started selling rights to the World Cup. So like the sponsorship and that kind of stuff, that was kind of the turning point, where, there was a lot, I think it's Adidas, or like the people behind Adidas, like, became the major sponsor and were like paying off the president of FIFA to like secure the rights to the World Cup every single 4 years. And then, then you eventually get Sepp Blatter in charge of FIFA. And, there's other reports of corruption around that. Of course, another major sticking point is the World Cup bids of both Russia and Qatar, which kind of makes it timely. Of course, Russia not really being the preferred option for that year. And then Qatar, just nobody thought that Qatar should have won the World Cup bid. Even to this day, even to this week, which, the World Cup's happening and you see all the stuff happening into the fan camps and that kind of stuff, with all the corruption and them just not having any infrastructure to hold a World Cup prior when they made the initial announcement for the bid or whatever. Kind of explaining how some of the corruption happens, mainly revolving around a guy called Jack Warner, who was head of the Caribbean section of countries who voted on the presidency every 4 years, whatever they hold the FIFA presidency, and how the rumors of corruption and that kind of stuff, and how because regions like Africa have more actual individual countries, their whole continent has more votes than someone like South America, who only have like 8 or 9 countries in South America, which is a fact that blew my mind. I thought there were way more than that. But yeah, I thought it was really interesting. They do give right of reply to. They do have interviews with Sepp Blatter and the head of the Qatar bid, and they kind of, they try their best to explain different things and whether there's corruption or not. But yeah, it's definitely a pretty fair documentary. But you know which side it kind of lands on because several people have been found to have been corrupt. Like
the truth always stands out.
It does. I mean, they did have a massive raid of FIFA back in 2018, I want to say, by the FBI or CIA, whichever one it is, disclosing a lot of their corruption. So yeah, if you want to get in the mood for the FIFA World Cup, this is the thing to watch, I guess. Very timely. So yeah, that's everything I watched history. Let's move into some film news. And kind of the biggest news that broke in the last week was that Bob Chapek, who's CEO of Walt Disney Company since February 2020, has stepped down from his position effective immediately, with predecessor Bob Iger returning to the post once more. While Chapek's tenure at the mega company has been riddled with controversy, there's no denying that this announcement and its timing is seemingly bizarre. So according to a report from The Wrap, this was all because the company wanted Chapek gone as soon as possible. Speaking to insiders on the matter, the decision reportedly came down to Disney's increasing debt and plummeting profits, all of which were overseen by the former parks executive, in addition to acquiring over $48 billion in long-term debt tied to the acquisition of 20th Century Fox. Disney has experienced a massive dip in stock price since January of this year. It has dropped by 41% throughout 2022, with profits only increasing by 20 cents per share on a revenue stream of $20.15 billion. In simple terms, Disney became wildly less profitable under Chapek's management, and it appears they will be course correcting as quickly as possible. Dylan, what do you think of this news when it broke this week? Very weird and out of nowhere, kind of.
Wild. It was one of those news stories that I saw on Twitter and had to make sure it was a double blue tick account. So,
had to get off Twitter to confirm it.
Yeah. It's kind of crazy because I think I remember at some stage talking about on here how I really enjoyed the Bob Iger book, which was all about him. Like, he put that out obviously after he retired and talked about his whole Disney journey and all these sorts of things, and it's just crazy. I was like thinking about that book again, like after this, and just because the way it's written is very much like moving on to the next chapter of my life, retirement. For him to come back out, it has to be bad to be like, our course of action is to pull our previous CEO out of retirement to steer the ship here is absolutely wild. So things must be bad over there.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. Just getting him in so quickly is very out of the norm, from what I understand. He definitely.
Well, he's well loved there, like as a CEO.
Yeah, Bob Iger is obviously well loved, and obviously he had a long tenure. But to get rid of the previous CEO and then just have the other guy come in like immediately is very uncommon in business. Probably it's a little bit harsh, considering the state of the industry. And obviously we just, had a pandemic the last 2 years that Disney would, and we've got massive inflation and that kind of stuff. Why Disney's profits wouldn't necessarily be as high as they once were. But on the other hand, nearly every other entertainment company had a bit of a surge because nobody was doing anything but staying at home and watching stuff. So I think there was a lot of apparently I read somewhere Bob Iger had been criticizing like every single move that he'd been making in the last few years, like to other insiders in the company, like creative decisions. I think somewhere like none of the creative projects that Bob Chapek was in charge of have like made very good returns. You only have to look at A Strange World, or Strange Worlds, or whatever it's called.
That movie's out.
That movie came out and is set to be a massive bomb, because I don't think anybody's actually heard about it or knew it was coming out. But yeah, I don't like. It's kind of crazy that, you know, obviously a person who's making, if any other company was making that kind of money, he would be hailed as a hero. But, you know, if you're making a return of $20-something billion every single year, like, that would be pretty impressive. But, you know, it's Disney, so you have to be doing more. And of course, there was like kind of all that controversy around the don't say gay bills and all that kind of stuff. So, yeah, very interesting story though.
Keen to see what starts happening. I mean, he's already started shuffling people around and moving people out of positions and stuff. So
yeah,
I think like he's straight. It's like this isn't a slow. He's like, all right, straight to work.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know if you've heard this story. The horror world has had a bombshell dropped on it recently, and when it was revealed that Jason Blum's Blumhouse Productions and James Wan's Atomic Monster are looking to join forces. The house that Paranormal Activity built and the production company founded by the guy who made the Conjuring universe happen are in advanced merger talks. Had you heard about this?
Yeah, I'm all about it. I think it makes perfect sense. I mean, James Wan's like the majority of his, like all his stuff comes through there anyway. So, and James Wan's love, like he's always going to be in horror movies. I don't really care if he's off doing a Fast and Furious or a Aquaman. Like his true love is horror films. So, I mean, he likes really pushing the boundaries and like exploring that genre more. And Jason Blum likes producing stuff that is in all forms of horror. Like he's not like, it's not like I only produce like really fucked up gory shit, or like I only produce, you know, like Blumhouse does have a very wide gambit, and like he likes taking risks on smaller directors and, you know, shit like I mean, you wouldn't have Paranormal Activity, you know, like that's Blumhouse, and you know all these other so I think they're both people from a production company, and then director like James Wan really like reignited a certain thing within horror, within Insidious, and even with Saw back in the day. Like he's someone who's always sort of reignited different genres of horror, and Blumhouse always produces like different movies that come out and like ignite these different passions of horror. So I think it's a perfect partnership. I think it's a good idea.
Yeah, I think, you know, it makes a lot of sense. It's you know, as the reports I've read have been like, Jason Blum himself has said he's like 80% businessman, 20% creative, and James Wan's kind of the other way around. So them working together makes a lot of sense, because James Wan's obviously someone who's got a ton of different ideas. Obviously, you just look at the different projects that he's like had his hands in. And obviously he's been super successful. Like Saw is like one of the biggest franchises of all time. Insidious, The Conjuring is arguably one of the biggest. I think in the article that I just read, it's The Conjuring is the biggest multiverse universe outside of the Marvel universe. So
because they've had like Annabelle, the Nun, like all these like multiple spin-offs and stuff.
So yeah, so to have him come over and work with Jason Blum at Blumhouse, put their things together, I mean, it makes a lot of sense. It would back. The only one who kind of loses in this deal is Warner Brothers, who obviously had a pretty close relationship with Jason Wan, with a lot of his projects, because, you know, Universal have a first look deal with Blumhouse Productions, so if they would have first pick as to whether they want to distribute their projects.
I think that's just business. I don't feel like
that's just business.
Like this isn't like Microsoft buying Activision. This is just think this is a fine business thing. Yeah.
But yeah, Blumhouse Productions could just become the biggest name in. It would definitely be.
It would be the biggest name in horror.
In horror,
biggest name in like mainstream horror, I guess, as well. That's the key thing.
Yeah. So that's interesting. So this past week we got the nominations for this year's Film Independent Spirit Awards, which are set to be revealed on March 4th. Of course, this is the first year in which all acting categories are lumped together without
first year they copied us
without genders. You know, yeah. Well, not really, because, you know, there's no comedy and drama categories.
Yeah, still, they tried. They spied by us.
But the nominees for Best Feature Film at the Independent Spirit Awards are Bones and All, Everything Everywhere All at Once, Our Father the Devil, Tar, and Women Talking. Best Directors are Todd Field for Tar, Kogonada for After Yang, Daniel Kwan and Daniel Shirt for Everything Everywhere All at Once, Sarah Polley for Women Talking, and Helena Rajan for Bodies, Bodies, Bodies. Nominees for Best First Feature are After Sun, Emily the Criminal, The Inspection, Murana, and Palm Trees and Power Lines. Best Lead Performance nominees are Cate Blanchett for Tar, Dale Dickey for A Love Song, Mia Goth for Pearl, Regina Hall for Honk for Jesus, Save Your Soul, Paul Mescal for After Sun, Aubrey Plaza for Emily the Criminal, Jeremy Pope for The Inspection, Taylor Russell for Bones and All, Andrea Riseborough for To Leslie, and Michelle Yeoh for Everything Everywhere All at Once. Best Supporting Performance nominees are Jamie Lee Curtis for Everything Everywhere All at Once, Brian Tyree Henry for Causeway, Nina Hoss for Tar, Brian Darcy James for The Cathedral, Ki Hu Kwan for Everything Everywhere All at Once, Trevante Rose for Bruiser, Theo Rossi for Emily the Criminal, Mark Rylance for Bones and All, Jonathan Tucker for Palm Trees and Power Lines, Gabriel Union for The Inspection. Dylan, what are your thoughts on the Independent Spirit Award nominees?
Mia Goth getting nominated is cool. That's a standout to me.
Yeah.
I mean, I haven't watched Pearl yet, but obviously, really like X.
Yeah.
Otherwise, a lot of stuff I haven't watched, but it sounds good.
Yeah, really interesting. It's good to see Everything Everywhere All at Once getting a bunch of nominations. That makes me happy and gives me hope that, it could, make a Academy Award run. But yeah, it's hard to say because obviously I think last year, all the big Best Feature, Best Male Lead, and Best Female Lead, none of them were nominated, the winners. So, yeah, what I appreciate about this nominee list is it just lists a bunch of films that, I need to make sure to watch at some point in the future. Which is always helpful. And, I feel like the Independent Spirit Awards are like one of the more fun award ceremonies of the year. So, yeah. Quentin Tarantino found himself in the news this week after decrying the Marvelization of Hollywood. Talking on the Two Bears, One Cave podcast, Tarantino spoke about the Marvelization of Hollywood and how Marvel's output is driven by IP rather than star power. Part of the Marvelization of Hollywood is you have all these actors who have become famous playing these characters, but they're not movie stars, right? Captain America is a star, or Thor is a star. I mean, I'm not the first person to say that. I think that it's been said a zillion times, but it's like, it's these franchise characters that become the star. Yeah. So by Tarantino's definition, are actors like Chris Hemsworth and Chris Evans movie stars? In his view, they're more ambassadors of IP than marquee draws themselves in the classic Hollywood sense. Though the Pulp Fiction director clarified, I'm not even putting them down, frankly, to tell you the truth, but that is the legacy of the Marvelization of Hollywood movies. Dylan, do you think Marvel movie actors are Hollywood stars? Or do Hollywood stars even exist anymore?
No. He's 100% right, and I don't know why anyone's like getting upset by it. People have been showing this clip where what's it called? Mackie is said the same thing a couple of years ago, and he's in these movies. So, like, it's not a hot take at all. I think it's just the truth.
Yeah, I'm kind of like reading it in context. It makes a lot of sense. I just feel like anybody who sees any like director who's not directly involved in Marvel, like attacking Marvel movies in any way,
they get so upset.
Yeah, they get trashed. Of course, it doesn't help that Simu Liu came out and said with comments saying if the only gatekeepers to movie stardom came from Tarantino and Scorsese, I would never have had the opportunity to lead a $400 million plus movie. I'm in awe of their filmmaking genius. They are transcendent auteurs, but they don't get to point their nose at me or anyone.
I disagree with what he's saying in this case because I don't feel like the comment of there's no more movie stars means that we still couldn't, like, we could have got, like, in a world where the MCU and superhero movies hadn't taken over, you could still get to a world where actors are still, like, Hollywood stars are still there, but we've progressed to a not fully white Hollywood. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like you can have your cake and eat it there too. So I don't feel like you have to have the MCU superheroization to get to a world where he can star in a movie that's that expensive. I don't feel like that goes hand in hand, or needs to necessarily.
Yeah, I think that was a little bit, probably a bit short-sighted, his comments that way, and impulsive, I think. But yeah, this is a story that's kind of been a mountain of a molehill, I guess. Yeah. Last story. So we all remember Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey, a trailer that was dropped earlier this year, which horrified many Disney fans when they saw the beloved childhood characters Winnie the Pooh and Piglet appearing in a gory slasher film. Well, apparently director Rhys Frack Waterfill has already lined up his next project. The team behind the 100 Acre Woods set exploitation film are preparing to repeat that formula with another childhood classic, Bambi. Felix Sattin's 1923 novel Bambi, A Life in the Woods, has entered public domain, and Frack Waterfield is set to produce a horrifying take on the story titled Bambi, The Reckoning. Interview with Dread Center announcing the project, the film's director revealed that the horror film is partially inspired by David Bruckner's The Ritual. The film is an incredibly dark retelling of the 1928 story we all know and love. Finding inspiration from the design used in the Netflix's The Ritual, Bambi will be a vicious killing machine that lurks in the wilderness. Prepare for Bambi on rabies. Dylan, does that sound like an exciting project to you?
Not really, but I'm all about this, to be honest. I've spoken out before that I think more things should enter I like when stuff enters the public domain. I think that's something. I think old stuff I like the public domain as a source. I like the fact that stuff can enter the public domain. People don't have to pay money to be able to, like, it helps with costs, especially with upcoming independent filmmakers and all these sorts of things, like having a source material to draw from that you really want to adapt or something like that, or having music you can draw from and that's in the public domain, like all these sorts of things. I don't really care. Like, whether the movie's good or bad, whatever. I don't care. Like, go ham. What's it matter? Who's it hurt? That Winnie the Pooh movie looked terrible. This will probably be terrible. I don't care. Whatever.
I mean, yeah, I guess it doesn't hurt anybody if you make it, but it definitely feels like a bit of a cash grab. You know what I mean? Like, oh, we'll just make this horror movie that will grab headlines, especially that we know that the other one that we built on another.
It's not really a cash grab. I feel like it's
it's a cynical move to.
It's trying to get attention.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
You're in a business. You're trying to make money. You know what I mean?
I guess, but then you're talking about artistry and people wanting to adapt it in a certain way. It just feels very cynical,
Yeah. I like it. I like when stuff's in the public domain eventually, because then people can do whatever they want. Whereas when it's not, there's like, you have to get permission, you got guidelines and stuff, and then stuff hits the public domain, people go ham. Like, whatever.
Yeah, it feels cynical, and then now somebody else who would really have liked to and had a better idea can't do a horror take on Bambi. I don't think.
Why not?
Because then they would automatically be compared and said they're ripping off this other project.
Majority of people will never hear this movie. Or forget about it 6 months after it's out.
I don't know.
So I don't really think about this.
I don't know. We'll see. Yes, so that's all the news for this week. Let's move in to give some thumbs to trailers. Of course, you can find all the trailers that we're about to talk about in the show notes below, or by going to explosion.com and checking out the What Do You Want to Watch podcast feed over there. First trailer for this week is Inside, directed by Vasilis Katsoupas, starring William Dafoe. A high-end art thief becomes trapped in a luxury high-tech penthouse in New York's Times Square after his heist doesn't go as planned. Locked inside with nothing but priceless works of art, he must use all his cunning and invention to survive. Dylan, what did you think of the trailer for Inside?
Double thumbs up. Looks fantastic. William Dafoe, just going absolutely full Dafoe. I don't know if that's a term, but it is now. Full Dafoe. Wild. Can't wait. Looks really, really good. I like these types of movies. These like single alone thriller sort of things. Yeah, I'm all about it. Double thumbs up.
Yeah, this is actually 2 thumbs up from me. I think it's a well put together trailer. It's an interesting setup of this like person who steals high end art, getting trapped in this high end, high security penthouse, and not being able to get out anyway. All the water's gone, all the electricity's gone. How's he going to survive? It's Castaway, but it's like if there's a bunch of people around him. You know, it's such a weird dichotomy and like that element of it as well. But then it's also somebody who really appreciates art and has a love for it, but you know needs to destroy it to keep himself alive, like to a certain extent, or to keep himself alive or to keep him sane. You know, and it just seems like Willem Dafoe was like the perfect piece of casting for this. It looks like it's going to be The Lighthouse, but without Robert Pattinson. What if The Lighthouse happened, but it's just Willem Dafoe? But in a New York penthouse.
What's wrong with
day.
Robert Pattinson in that movie?
No, nothing. It's just there's no one else there to keep Willem Dafoe sane. So
you don't like my cooking? But
I see that pigeon is still alive. I'm like, the seagull.
True, good point.
Not by choice, but. So Inside is coming to US cinemas on 10th of March 2023. There is currently no confirmed Australian release date. Next trailer, we've got The Recruits, created by Ashley Hobley, starring Noah Centineo, Artie Mann, Daniel Quincy Ano, Vondi Curtis Hall, Christian Brun, Laura Haddock, Colton Dunn, and Fievel Stewart. A fledgling CIA lawyer gets caught up in a dangerous game of international politics when a former asset threatens to expose the nature of her relationship with the agency unless they clear her name. Dylan, what do you think of the trailer for The Recruit?
I'm gonna double thumbs up. I really like the casting and everything. Like the dude from what's the movie? The Netflix movie?
Black Adam. All the boys.
All the boys. That's one thing. Yeah, he's casting. Like when I saw the poster and the synopsis, I was like, this is a bit weird and whatever else. But I don't know. I felt like the trailer was really well put together. Maybe the show's terrible, but the trailer at least was good. So I'm going to double thumbs up.
Yeah, this is 2 thumbs up from me as well. It looks like it's a fun time, obviously from the guy behind the shows like The Rookie, and like he wrote for Castle and that kind of stuff. So I'm expecting like a similar kind of tone. It seemed like a perfect casting for Noah. Like he seemed, you know, a young actor, a young person, you know, just getting into the CIA and that kind of stuff. Yeah, it looks like an opportunity for him to showcase a lot of the charm that we saw in all the boys movies, and kind of what's the word that they've been using around his performance in Black Adam? I don't know, can't remember, but yeah, the dopiness, I guess. But yeah, this looks good. Looks like it'll be a good time. This is releasing on Netflix on December 16th, 2022. So look forward to that. Next trailer is Missing, directed by Nick Johnson and Will Merrick, starring Storm Reed, Joaquin de Almeida, Ken Leong, Amy Landecker, Daniel Herney, and Nia Long. When her mother disappears while on vacation in Colombia with her new boyfriend, June's search for answers is hindered by international red tape. Stuck thousands of miles away in Los Angeles, June creatively uses all the latest technology at her fingertips to try and find her before it's too late. But as she digs deeper, her digital sleuthing raises more questions than answers. And when June unravels secrets about her mother, who discovers that she never really knew her at all. Dylan, you've watched Searching. What do you think of the trailer for this spiritual success?
Yes. Searching's really, really good. This looks like Searching, but like maybe even a little bit better. Looks like the built upon. The thing that was so good about Searching is just the way it keeps the pace going. Like it's constantly a moving film, like jumping around. Like, and you see that in the trailer with this too. Like it doesn't. It's not very still. You know, you're jumping into Google Maps and web browsers and images and calling people, and like it's a very fast paced movie for someone who's sitting at a computer like searching. So this has a similar feel to that to me. And it was a proper thriller. Like it gets your heart racing. So yeah, I really enjoyed Searching, and this looks to be a very fantastic follow up on a similar sort of concept. Very keen for this. Double thumbs up.
Yeah, this is double thumbs up for me as well. I think, you know, as somebody who did watch Searching, this has got me very intrigued. Like, just
you could watch Searching. It's not a horror movie. It's just a film.
Yeah. So. It is definitely on my list of things to watch. Like, even after watching this, I'm like, man, I should go back and watch Searching John Cho's great. I should give him a chance. Yeah, just even the mystery that's kind of unraveling over the course of this trailer. And I guess we kind of get an idea of what happened to her mother, but, maybe it's not, because obviously they're raising questions about the mother in the trailer, so, like, what's her secrets, and that kind of stuff. Yeah, really interesting. I'm looking forward to checking out. So, this is coming to cinemas on January 26th, 2023. Will you go see it in cinemas?
Yeah. I mean, if it comes here, I'll go see it in cinemas.
Yeah. Or would you prefer to watch it on your laptop at home?
No. The only thing, host worked better on a laptop because it was like a chat call and everyone was talking. It was that particular film. Like, no, you should watch Searching on a big screen, and you should watch everything. Like, these movies, it's fun. It's just host.
Okay. Next trailer, White Noise, directed by Noah Baumbach, starring Adam Driver, Greta Gerwig, Rafi Cassidy, Andre Benjamin, Alessandra Nivola, Jodie Turner-Smith, and Don Cheadle. College professor Jack Gladney and his family's comfortable suburban life is upended when a nearby chemical leak causes the airborne toxic event, releasing a noxious black cloud over the region that forces the Gladney family to evacuate. So, what did you think of the trailer for White Noise?
Double thumbs up. That's great. I can't wait. New Noah Baumbach film. I can't remember how to say his last name. How good? I mean, to be completely honest, I'd watched this trailer yet when I wasn't in a rush because I knew it was a new Baumbach film. So I'm gonna watch it either way. Like that's there's sometimes I feel with some movies or it's directors, because it's funny having this with the whole, like, there's no Hollywood actors anymore, but at least as far as I'm concerned, there's definitely still directors where I'm like, I probably don't even need to, like, there's a few directors where I never even really get excited about watching their movie trailers. I just get excited for their movies, and I don't even need to watch the trailer. Like, it's just, just fall into this category. But what a great trailer. It's a funny trailer. So, I got a little chuckle there at one stage, anime, so just a little under my breath one. But
I'm going to give it 1 up, 1 down.
You're a piece of shit.
I think it looked fine. It could be very funny, but, the tone didn't win me over. And it's probably also being marked against these 3 really good trailers that I watched before it. So, yeah. I'm looking forward to checking it out because
his last movie
obviously Marriage
was
Story.
Our best movie of the year winner.
That's true.
ExplosionHour.com.
Well, this movie doesn't have Scarlett Johansson or Laura Dern, so.
How does Greta Gerwig both proceed to, now that she's into directing, proceed to go off and direct, like, Academy Award nominated movies while still co-star in Academy Award nominated movies? Yeah.
Nepotism.
What a woman.
So, White Noise is releasing in select theaters December 8th, before streaming on Netflix from December 30th. Does this fit the criteria of 2020 Best of the Year? Releases December 30th. Streaming, you won't be able to watch it till December 30th. But it's in select theaters on the December 8th.
I believe it's before the cutoff, and under the criteria, since it was in cinemas for a week, then yes, it would make the cutoff. Yes.
Okay, cool.
Even if I haven't watched it, yes. The rule is it has to have had a it's not a limited release. It's just a limit, like
not festival.
Not festival is the main thing. Not non-festival cinema.
Or like not a one-off,
Yeah, one-off. Like, for when the main thing is you can't have watched it at a film festival, or I can't have watched a screener, or
like advanced screening, like
anything any advanced thing you can't include. Okay. You got to go by the actual date that real public Australians could have watched it. So yes,
Last trailer for the week: Emancipation, directed by Antoine Fuqua, starring Will Smith, Ben Foster, and Charmaine Bingwa. Peter, a slave, flees a plantation in Louisiana after he was whipped within an inch of his life. He has to outwit cold-blooded hunters and the unforgiving swamps of Louisiana on a torturous journey north. Dylan, what did you think of the trailer for Emancipation?
Looks great. I'm not 100% sure if this is black or white, or if it's got, like, just a really grey tone. That was the only thing that was really annoying me. My brain.
Yeah, because some elements, like some of the stuff looks like green or coloured in some way.
Yeah. It was like sort of making my brain. It was doing that thing where my brain's like fighting,
trying to work it out.
Pay attention, yeah. But otherwise, it looks really, really good. I mean, Will Smith looks to be putting in a great performance. Looks to have been shot well, even if it is in grey or black and white. I'm still undecided, but yeah. Keen to watch it. Apple TV, right? So.
Yep.
Okay, looks good.
I'll give it
one down. By the way.
Yeah, I was going to give it 1 up, 1 down as well. I think it looks very good, but subject matter that's not like very appealing. And I feel like we've had so many similar stories in like recent years about slavery. It's like it's a little bit oversaturated, which is a terrible thing to say. Probably. But yeah, it's kind of material that we've seen explored a fair bit. I think the only interesting thing is obviously he joins the Northern Army, I guess, to abolish slavery, which is a different element, and obviously visually it looks quite interesting. The one thing, hopefully this movie, the one thing it does is it stops people complaining about like Will Smith's career being over, and comparing him to Ezra Miller constantly, which is my major gripe.
Yeah, I've seen there's been a few things lately where like people are grouping together anyone who had any charges of rape next to Will Smith and like other people. Yeah,
absolutely. All right. Before we end this week's episode of What Do You Want to Watch, let's talk about our What Do You Want to Watch top threes.
Definitely in the top 3.
The first lot of top threes I want to do this week. Top 3 movies we want to watch before the end of the year. Of course, our best of the year is coming up. We're at end of November, so we only got like 1 month of 1 month left to watch all the stuff that we haven't watched yet. So yeah, Dylan, what's your number 3?
My number 3 is or Triple R, or whatever you call it. That it's on Netflix. I don't know if it's Netflix. Is it a Netflix movie, or is it just on Netflix?
No, it's on Netflix. It wasn't like produced by Netflix. Netflix don't even have the like authentic translation rights.
Okay,
but yes.
You mean subtitles or
no? Like the
dub.
The dub. It's not the actual. Yeah. It's not the official original language that it's filmed in.
Yeah, I wouldn't watch it in dub though. I'd watch it in.
No, it is a dub. The one on Netflix.
Oh, I'm not watching it on Netflix then. It's terrible.
There's no other way to watch it as far as in Australian movie.
Removing the movie from the list.
Well, RRR, Triple R is my number 1. It's a movie that I've seen absolutely everybody talk about how crazy bonkers and over the top it is. So it's definitely one I want to check out before the end of the year. If this is the only way that I can watch it, that's fine, because sure, some of the language will be off, but I'm just reading the subtitles anyway, so I'm sure it'll be fine. Most people haven't had too many complaints about it, so. Okay.
Yes, so yeah, I've been reading about it all year. Everyone says it's bonkers, but it like also says it's good. Like not just hey, this movie's bonkers, but people say it's like bonkers, but actually good. So, but yeah, it's just that it's like fucking three and a half hours
something.
Long or whatever.
Okay. Apparently the credits are really long, so got to deal with that. That's off-putting. So my number 3, worst person in the world, obviously an Academy Award nominee earlier this year. It was a toss-up between that and Drive My Car, both films that I probably feel like I should watch before the end of the year.
Is this eligible? I thought this came out in Australia. It released in Australia
2022.
Did it really?
I'm pretty sure, just from my quick research.
Yeah.
But yeah, obviously a very highly regarded film. A lot of people really enjoyed it. You really enjoyed it. I feel like I would vibe with it. So yeah, that's one I want to watch before the end of the year. Dylan, what's your number 2?
Number 2 is The Banshees of Inisherin.
Yep.
I try to pick stuff that I could feel like I have a chance of watching. So I feel like there's a chance this maybe could show up at my cinema or something like that. Like, so
But it's definitely coming out
holding
Boxing Day. Well, I'm pretty sure it will come out Boxing Day. At your cinema.
So I'm hoping I don't get snubbed. So yeah, that's also part of my picks is to stuff.
I mean, a solution. Just keep searching for it every single week. See if the show times pops up.
Maybe if I search, like it plays into a factor. Like, man, this movie is really popular. People keep searching for it for one season. That's just me.
I'm pretty sure they're going to showcase one of the like Oscar favorites. You know,
they usually do show them all, but just
eventually.
for a short period.
My number 2 is Prey. I still have not gone around to watching Prey, which is of course the Predator prequel, I guess, movie set in early Native American times during the early efforts of colonization. It's one that I want to watch, but just have not gotten around to. Okay, Dylan, what's your number 1?
My number 1's Barbarian, a movie that a lot of people say is not only fantastic and one of the best movies of the year, but also one of the best horror movies of the year. I've not watched a trailer for it. I don't really know what it's about. I want to continue to be that way. I've just heard people say it's really good. So that's where I'm at with that.
Yeah. Well, hopefully it drops on Disney Plus for you soon.
Yeah, it was on Disney Plus in some countries, I thought. And then it was on HBO Max in America or whatever, I think. It's like different streaming services, different countries. And I'm like, it's neither on Binge or Disney Plus here. I'm just getting fucked in both directions.
Or even on VOD. Just like...
Yeah. If they put it up on iTunes, I'm happy to pay $30 to just buy it and watch it at this stage. I just want to watch it.
All right. Yes, so that's our first top 3s. Second top list of top 3s for this week. Top 3 movies the other should watch before the end of the year. So, Dylan, let me know. What's your number 3?
My number 3 for you is a movie I talked about all the way back at the start of the year that I feel like I'm just going to bring back around when we do our awards, and I think you would enjoy too, which is The Fallout. So that was the Jenna Ortega, Maddie Ziegler movie.
I do remember you talking about this.
About the fallout, as the title says, about these 2 girls following a school shooting. Very good performances, like hard subject matter, of course, but very well, just like 2 really good performances, very well written, directed, and everything like that. But the fact I thought about this, like, you know, nearly a year later, I think says something. So, The Fallout.
All right. My number 3 film that you should watch before the end of the year, Belle. So this also came out in January here in Australia. This is the latest Mamoru Hosoda animated film. Possibly the best animated film released this year. Obviously, very visually interesting, a weird story inspired by Beauty and the Beast, but also having a lot of like a massive social media element to it, and like metaverse storylines and plots. I definitely recommend. I think you get a kick out of it. So yeah, Belle. What's your number 2, Dylan?
Number 2 movie I've been talking about recently, All Quiet on the Western Front. Really, really good movie. I think it's going to be in a lot of people's like talked about best movies list for sure. Definitely going to be coming up when we get to our top 10 discussions and these sorts of things. So it's on Netflix. Well, I already said you should watch it, but since we made this a top 3, say it again. You should watch it.
All right. My number 2, Elvis. It's one of the biggest Australian movies of the year.
Nah, probably not, eh?
One of the biggest Australian movies of the year. Austin Butler is definitely in the best actor conversation. I think, you know, you owe it to yourself to watch Elvis before the end of the year. You know? Because it does mixed reviews, but, you know, maybe you're on the positive side. Yeah. Maybe you'll get a kick out of Tom Hanks in that movie, you know?
Not based on what I've seen.
If you got a kick out of Justin Long's accent in Christmas with the Campbells, you might get a kick out of Tom Hanks as Uncle Tom. So Dylan, what's your number 1?
Number 1, crossover. I picked Prey for you.
Okay. Yeah, good pick. My number one, After Yang. If you're going to watch Banshees of Inisherin, you've already watched The Batman, you need to watch the other Colin Farrell film from this year. Beautifully shot film by Koganda, I want to say off the top of my head. Who just a beautiful little sci-fi film that talks about life and death and robots.
That's a Netflix show.
That is a Netflix show, but it also applies here. No, isn't there sex
That's
in
love.
the
It's
title?
Love, Death, and Robots, but it sounded so similar.
Starring Haley Richardson, who you mentioned before, who I'm sure you actually have seen in a bunch of different stuff and just not paid attention.
Is she in that? No, I don't think I have. Let me bring her
She's
up.
in Split. She's one of the other girls who gets kidnapped.
Split. Oh
Split.
yeah, like I'm gonna fucking remember in that. She's like one of the other random girls. Yeah, real standout performance.
She plays
Totally
the best
remember.
friend of Haley Steinfeld in Under 16 or whatever it's called.
No.
Okay, those were my two
Yeah, so
big
the two
guesses.
roles. Yeah, sure. I've seen her in stuff. Do I recall seeing her in stuff? No.
Alright.
You know what I recall seeing her in?
What?
White Lotus season 2.
All right. Let us know your top 3 films you want to watch before the end of the year, and give us your top 3 films that you want us to watch before the end of the year. Probably not going to, but it's nice to it's the thought that counts. Let us know by going to explosion.com/Twitter or jump to Discord at explosion.com/Discord. If you want to help us out here at What Do You Want to Watch, leave us a review, Apple Podcasts, Podchaser, leave us 5 stars, and you can leave 5 stars, or just tell people about the show. And if you really like this episode, thought it was worth it all, head over to our Ko-fi page at explosion.com/support. Thank you very much for listening. Until next time, keep watching stuff, I guess.